Welcome to IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. We got the quad box going. Sorry, YouTube TV, but this is the best you'll get with the quad box these days. I'm Joe Cook. That's Evan Veith. That's Ian Boyd. That's Justin Wells. Thank you for watching. As always, if you have not done so yet, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you have not also done this thing, go subscribe to Inside Texas, $1 for your first month. This is not a deal that is going to last long. We've got big game versus Georgia, game versus Arkansas. I'm not going to call that one big. Big game versus Texas A&M, National Signing Day, the postseason, everything you need to know as a Longhorn fan is over on Inside Texas. So go join today. Use that first link in our description or use that QR code up there in the top left corner. Scan it. That'll take you there. Get that promo. Can't wait to see everybody over there, over on Inside Texas. And yes, of course, got to go show some prayers for Tony Jeffrey. If you're on Inside Texas, there's a pinned thread. I'll try to find a way to get the GoFundMe link. Tony Jeffrey having some medical issues, could use Longhorn Nation's help. First number 12, I really remember, and we're just talking about it. You know, Justin, my major memory of him is, you know, holding Dusty Mangum's kick, but you got to see him back in high school.
Yeah, my first memory was watching him play basketball for Klein Forest at the state championship in the Drum, when they used to do the state championship in basketball the right way. They'd have the tournament at the Irwin Center. It was the best part of spring break. But yeah, Tony Jeffrey. And then, man, my first thought is that catch, the touchdown catch against Kansas in 2005. I was actually at a deer lease. And I was listening to that game on the radio, and I'm thinking, yeah, the whole national championship season is about to go down the drain in Lawrence. This is going to happen. And Tony Jeffrey's like, you know what, Vince, we got it, and they did.
Yeah, Vince's run is always going to be something that people remember, but that play also was huge in that game, and just someone you've seen a lot of different people, Mac Brown. The whole Longhorn community, including Inside Texas, has come through. Even, I mean, hey, blast from the past. I see a lot of Inside Texas members. I'm pretty sure. I know Eric said he was going to do something. I even saw Clendon's name on there. Clendon Ross.
Really?
Former Inside.
Dog.
Still a big friend of Inside Texas. Is made a donation, and yeah, I know Eric said he was as well. So. I will find a way to try to get that. Maybe I'll try to put that in the show notes after we are done here to go help out Tony Jeffrey. So thank everybody for watching. AR, good to see you. Yeah, there it is. The Tony reverse. Now it means a full recovery. Hoping that's the way it goes. So thanks everybody for joining. And yeah, wow.
04 is right. Chris Ben's right. I got my years mixed up. It was 2004. I was still at the deer lease, though. I know that for sure.
It's that time of year. I mean, there are some just all-stars in the Longhorns community there in that donation list, and I'll get that into the show link as soon as we are done here. But we do need to talk a little bit about, there's a game on Saturday, pretty big one, I'd say, for Texas. And a pretty big one for Georgia. And luckily, this is something that we had kind of hinted at over the course of, I think, Wednesday from Eric Nahlin. That first SEC student athlete availability report came out. And I cannot remember a time where Texas had none to report. And Ian, that means Jelani McDonald. That means Michael Taft. That means Ryan Wingo. That means everybody is going to be suiting up in Athens that Texas needs for this game.
Yeah, it's good news. I wonder, what the relative health of everybody is. But Taft, you would assume, is fine. I think Taft could have and would have played in the last few games if he wasn't risking. It was less of a effectiveness issue and more of a protecting the hand long term. Yeah. McDonald seems to be fine. Man, I bet Manning is healthier after another week off.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if Hudson shape too, because it seemed like he might have been battling some stuff earlier in the year before he finally just got knocked out. So I'm sure they've got a gazillion bumps and bruises that aren't on the report because they don't have to be because everybody's practicing.
Yeah,
But
there is.
this is probably about as healthy as the team has been since football started, right?
yeah, I'd say so. Looking at the Georgia side of things, Jordan Hall being out, I know that was something that happened, I think, before the Mississippi State game. Same with Colby Young. Those are two guys who make decent impacts for them. But Evan Lawson Lucky being there, I don't know much about Josh Horton. I'm going to kind of look at a defensive tackle or number 81 for Georgia and think a little bit maybe not. I don't know his impact. But Lawson Lucky is part of that tight end tandem Georgia likes using. And him being available, looking at our friends from UGA Sports, sounds like good news for Georgia in having Lawson Lucky available for this game.
Yeah, you see Delp do more of that like true tight end in line, get nasty in the trenches and block, and Lucky do a little more of that splitting out to the slot area. I think he's second in slot snaps behind Zach Branch on the team. So it seems like he's good to go. I mean, probable on a Wednesday usually means you're playing on a Saturday. So Lucky's a pretty big weapon for this Georgia team. They run a lot of that 12 personnel, but I think it was Paul who joked about it, but they do it well and effectively on their side of things. So Lucky helps open up the run game because he's a bigger body out there if he's in the slot or just down on an inline position. Also, just a really good pass catcher. And I think that's all three between Delp, Lucky, and then even Ellis Williams, who's 6'7", true freshman, made a really big catch one of their most recent games. So you expect mostly, apart from like Young and Hall, to see what Georgia's been throwing out the last few weeks is the same team you're going to get on Saturday.
I would tell you that Jordan Hall being out is a big deal because he's one of their sturdiest run anchors, but they don't need that this week. It doesn't matter. Irrelevant.
I feel like there are other sturdy run anchors for them. Justin, you and I have been doing this for basically the past 2 years, as long as Texas has been in there. I don't think we've ever seen this.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we've had this so far. I can't recall either.
Yeah.
I think Bobby Petronic had it right. Maybe they're using a white font. Maybe maybe that's Sark. That's chess over checker or checkers over chess over checkers. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's Sark playing mind games with the SEC. I don't know. I can't recall not having a guy on this list. At least a guy in the out category.
Yeah.
Remember, Velton Gardner was out for a year with the eye injury. He was always there. They quit putting C.J. Baxter on the out after a while last year. I can't really recall.
Basically, like, this has never happened to where frontline guys from the beginning of the year have not been on there. Like, Baxter was on there most of last year because he was out for the year. Clark. Right. I'm a little surprised I never put Andre Kojo on the out every single time thing just because he's out for the season, but I guess they don't have to. I don't know. It's just, hey.
Maybe if he's out before the year and he's never, going to suit up, they don't feel like it's necessary. I don't think other schools in the SEC mind too much about stuff like that. But honestly, when this popped up last night, I started looking. Georgia's list was the one that got my attention. Guys like Lawson Lucky, guys like Colby Young, one of their best corners, Ethan Barber. I remember Texas recruited him a few years back. I think he was Alpharetta, Georgia. You see some of these guys, Jordan Hall, you see some of those names. And honestly, that's what got my attention last night when this report came out. It wasn't Texas missing guys because we had Sark had mentioned on Monday all these kids had been practicing. And then Eric reported on Wednesday that, hey, these guys are back ready to go. So I wasn't necessarily surprised by it. But listen, what is this, week 10? You got nobody on that report in week 10? That's depth. My goodness, that's depth. There's no excuses.
Yeah. Will Taft be sporting a club? I don't think it'll be full club. It will be.
It's not going to be a full club. It's not going to be like a dance club. It's going to be like a salsa club.
I know what you're talking about.
What did you just say?
I think everybody else does too. He's going to be wearing something.
It'll be a protective measure for his left thumb.
There we go. Yeah. So, and those two guys,
the music doesn't matter.
Those two guys being back, Jelani and Taft, are so big just because we saw what happened against a receiver core like Vanderbilt, they were able to stack up those yards in the fourth quarter against basically 4 different non-starters, 4 different depth guys, and then, one true freshman. So that's going to be something that is huge for Texas as we get into this game. One thing that's also going to be huge for Texas, there's a guy named Arch Manning. He plays quarterback for the Longhorns. And this is a situation where Georgia has not racked up the tackle for loss numbers like they have over the course of seasons and games against Texas past. Part of that's because they don't have, trust me, they have freaks everywhere, but they don't have any super freaks basically in that pass rush. But Evan, something you wrote about just this morning is Arch has some interesting stats against the blitz this season as Texas quarterback.
Yeah, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, you can see that the 2.7 higher yards per attempt, and I think the completion percentage is technically a little lower, but passer rating, overall efficiency, touchdown, interception. There's some more advanced stats elsewhere that show that he's just more comfortable when teams are coming after him. And one of the things we've mentioned between like Paul's articles, Eden's wrote a lot about it, is Georgia's just base 4-man rush front isn't quite the same as last year. Even coming into the game last year, we were a little bit like, they might not be able to get to the quarterback as well as we think they can, but that was with Mikael Williams and Jalen Walker, who were going to end up being first-round picks. There aren't quite guys like that on this team. It's off-ball linebackers who do a lot of their pressure work. Chris Cole's kind of the in-between guy, does outside, does on the edge, and does line up as a linebacker. But I believe Raylan Wilson's first in pressures, and he's a true off-ball guy. So Georgia's a team that has to bring pressure if they really want to get these big sacks, these big havoc plays, the turnover plays. And so if Manning can stay in there on a 5-man pressure or 6-man pressure, he's been efficient this season. It also allows him to roll out a little bit more. I think of the Wingo deep ball against Mississippi State where they bring 6. There's 5 guys that come immediately, a 6 kind of late entrant guy, and he's able to just move left and throw a deep ball downfield against, it wasn't one-on-one coverage, but Wingo started one-on-one, got past the guy. So that is one of the little points that's important for this Texas team, because Georgia might not be able to get to him with just 4, especially if the O-line's playing like we think they can play after the Vanderbilt game. And if they do bring 5, 6, that might just be what Arch Manning wants and what Steve Sarkisian wants. And they'll get some explosive plays because they're putting players like Wingo and Mosley one-on-one.
Ian, my thing this week has kind of been like, I just test anybody not named KJ Bolden. And I'm wondering if this stat kind of correlates with that idea. Like, Georgia's going to have good concepts. The fronts are going to be mixed up just because that's what Kirby Smart is very good at doing, and these smart Georgia defensive players are good at doing. But I'm just kind of thinking this may be a game where if you're not KJ Bolden, you better be on your P's and Q's because they're going to be coming after you.
My hope and prayer is that Sark gets into a lot of different spread looks and hunts the linebackers. I think that is the right answer. That's almost always the right answer if you can do it, honestly. But against Georgia, there's 2 big things there. I'll write about it today. Everybody can read it spelled out. But obviously the linebackers are their worst coverage defenders. That's just true for just about every team in football for all time. But also because they're the only blitzers, they can't do both, obviously. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're either going to drop them all out into coverage and then they don't get any pressure. And you find, Trey Wisner late in the flat or something, which is maybe Texas's best play on offense this year. Or they blitz and then they've got very little in the middle of the field. So that this is an obvious Niblet game. This is an obvious 2023 Tuscaloosa kind of game. Run the ball enough to make sure their linebackers stay on the field, but hunt them in your offense with all of your pass concepts, I think is the trick here. And then whether they blitz or not blitz, you're kind of, hopefully your numbers versus no blitz start to even out a little more with the blitz numbers.
Justin, this is going to be big for, I like Joshy Manning bringing this up. Cole Hudson and Connor Robertson. You've seen teams not pick on Texas tackles And I think we've written about that pretty well over the past couple of weeks. Like Trevor Gooseby and Brandon Baker have been turning in good performances. It's kind of because opposing defensive coordinators are like, you know what? That's not an area we want to try to attack. They want to try to attack that defensive or that offensive interior, and blitz or no blitz, whether it's linebackers coming, linebackers faking and sim pressures, like those guys in the middle and also DJ Campbell have to be ready.
Yeah, the interior has been kind of the Achilles heel of that front. And honestly, before the Vanderbilt game, it was still an issue, in my opinion. Mississippi State for 3 quarters just did not look good up front. But we'd asked this a few times. I felt like in the fall, like, hey, wouldn't Cole Hudson, who's played left guard quite a bit, wouldn't he look pretty good there instead of that true freshman that missed 4 assignments on the first 5 plays? Like we couldn't quite understand why Hudson wasn't a factor there. And honestly, I think it was Flood and Sark waiting for Robertson to take that center spot. He's taking it. Kid is smart. Kid is good. He's solid. But look, this is going to be the toughest blitzes packages they face this year. This is going to be – Kirby understands what's going on here. And the biggest thing for me is going to be making them be honest against the run. Because last year, Kirby refused to. And that's, I think, why Texas almost got him in the SEC championship. And so this O-line, we saw it good against Vanderbilt. Penalties at a minimum, pressures at a minimum, sacks, none. Let's see how that travels to Athens. I want to see more of this before I decide this O-line is actually fixed.
One thing, and Primetime Dog, appreciate you jumping in here. Always like to see some fans of the other team. Don't think Texas has the same wide receiver talent like last year. There may not be a first rounder on this team, at least someone playing like a first rounder this season. We'll see how it grows. But Evan, you've been on the Emmett Mosley soapbox for a good little while, and that's paired with even with a thumb that's a little bit messed up right now. That's paired with Ryan Wingo doing some good things with the ball in his hand as of late.
Well, one thing I'll push back on that take is, remember the game last year where there were 2 receivers really going out there and doing anything for Texas. It was Golden, who obviously first-round talent. There's none of Matthew Golden on this team. And then DeAndre Moore, who's still here, and he had probably his best game as a Longhorn last year in that championship game. After that, Isaiah Bond had that first play interception that he just kind of gave up on and wasn't seeing the rest of the game. And Ryan Wingo, I think, was 1 for 6 on catches that were targeted to him. So last year definitely had the more top-line talent with Golden, but I think just the 4 receivers and whatever you want to nibble it, maybe that's 5, is a lot deeper than what they were bringing out last year in that championship game, which, there's not quite the ability to just spam balls to Wingo like yours did at times, to Golden, where you remember Daniel Harris last year, who's now, I think, their number 4 cornerback. They've kind of demoted him, was one-on-one with Golden a lot, and they were just peppering balls to him and throwing them down the sideline. There's not quite like a one-on-one winner like that on this Texas team, but there's a lot more players that can exploit the problems in this Georgia defense that they didn't have last year. There was not a second outside receiver that was doing anything of note in that game. Gunnar Helmet is the most quiet game of the season. I do think there's a chance that they have a better wide receiver performance this season than last.
Justin, do you think this could be the Jack Endries game? Because we just heard Ian talk about the middle of the field and putting linebackers in tough situations. Is this maybe where we see that? Because we've talked on and on about 12 personnel not being the right path for Texas for a variety of reasons. Yeah. Do you think this may be where Jack Endries finally gets a little bit more?
Man, I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's funny because Georgia faces the best tight ends in the country in practice every week. I mean, they recruit some of the best tight ends. That group is one of the best year in and year out. I just don't know. I don't know who's going to be that X factor. Somebody's going to have to be because somebody's going to be open. And who is Kirby going to think the least of? Maybe that tight end spot. They've to me, they've only used it as a means of moving the chains a few times the last few weeks. It's just not been a weapon since week 2, week 3, if even then. And so that's hard to say, Joe. You would think if it could be exploitable, it'll happen, but Texas has not really gone to the tight end a lot in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
one of the things that's kind of going on, some people are talking about in the chat is the run game. And, we're hoping to see a little bit better from CJ Baxter this week and Quintravian Wisner. But Evan, I know where you got that all these stats against pressure. There's another tab where it's stats on play action. And right now, Texas has really kind of gone into a drop back game just because they've had to be in those situations. Arch is 60% completion with no play action, which is tough at the college level. If they can get any sort of running game, they're at 66% completion. I'm going to try to figure out the yards per attempt. Oh, it's 7.4 on yards per attempt, which is good. You'd probably want better considering how Texas does their play action. But any sort of run game and the passing offense looks a little bit different for Texas.
Yeah, I honestly thought that play action versus non-play action numbers would be way worse for the play action side of things. He's honestly a little, like you mentioned, not the most efficient completion percentage-wise and some other little stats when it comes to just pure drop back. But I think Ian and I have talked about this a little bit, and in this article I mentioned it. Like, Manning's going to have to be able to pure drop back in this game because I just don't think this run game is going to be dynamic enough to really influence the defense to respect it overly and too much, because Georgia gets beat a lot over top. Like the Tennessee game, there were some plays where Chris Brazzell was just kind of destroying cornerbacks, and he looked like a first-round receiver doing so. But in all their games, they've had guys leak out over top. I think like the Ryan Williams drop for Alabama. So they can't afford to be pushing these safeties too far down and leaving these cornerbacks on an island. So that is where like you want to be able to play action play and do have those long developing crossers. But I've seen multiple people in these comments, multiple people on our threads, multiple people on Twitter going, we don't want these 12 personnel, 3 routes, all of them 30-plus yards down the field. They're just not working for Texas. And I do think Arch Manning looks most comfortable when he can just drop back and throw a quick one and throw these crossers that are down the middle. Remember when we were complaining about mesh a lot early in the season? It's not quite been used as much, but it's much better with Manning these days. So I at least think that he's more comfortable in just taking a snap and dropping back and firing it off quickly, which maybe wasn't what he was good at early in the season.
I wonder if those play action numbers are bolstered by RPOs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because
70-yard one score strikes on bubble screens to Wingo and whatnot.
I mean, I wonder what for whatever PFF guys taking care of Texas games, what meets the standard of RPO or play action? Like if just kind of one of those token, like here you go, nope, you're open, like that type of thing. Because if that's a play action, that kind of skews the everything on the stats. Ian, I'm going to hide your face for a second, but I've got a good question. CJ Baxter's values in pass pro, it's not going to help as a rusher this year, I'm afraid. I think that's true in spurts, but I don't see why. I feel like Trey Wisner has been one of your best pass protecting running backs this year, and you keep a threat of everything with him when you keep him on the field.
Wisner is a tremendous third down back this year. He's still good, making moves in the open field on checkdowns and flat tosses. He can do damage on screens, and he's been very, very game for helping in pass protection too. So Texas has a third down back, and they do not have a first and second down back.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
This one from our guy, Williams David. Wisner and Baxter combined for 120 to begin the season. At this point, a combined 120 from them would be a tremendous accomplishment towards beating Georgia. Justin, the thing about that game, and I think Paul noted it well, is those 120 weren't terribly impactful.
Those 120 felt like 12 because I want to say, Ohio State was – I'm not saying in the giving mood, but they were more fixated on other things. Trey Wisner and C.J. Baxter running the ball was not a threat to Ohio State. And so, look, Baxter, I got this question from Trey Elling yesterday on ESPN Radio. Look, I love Baxter's comeback. He had a touchdown last week for the first time in like 2 years. I love it. But you got to keep expectations low there. He still does not look like the same guy. If anything, he's a little heavier. I just don't. I think the expectations got to stay really low with him. Anything you get from CJ Baxter in 2025 has got to be considered house money. You cannot rely on any of that stuff. And Joe, you said it. Why take Trey Wisner off when he's one of the most effective third down backs, not just in the program, but in the country? Why mess with that? You got some other guys that are doing pretty well. I like Baxter. Give him some run, but just you can't rely on his production this year. And I think this is who he is right now.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor, and that is Academy Sports and Outdoors. The most festive gear of the year is back at Academy. Don't miss limited edition Magellan Outdoor Christmas Market collection only at Academy. Get exclusive 2025 gear and gifts for all your holiday parties, fun family photos, and Christmas morning traditions. Check out the entire collection from matching PJs and holiday print fishing shirts and dresses to exclusive new Mossy Oak Snowdrift camo styles and more. Shop in-store at academy.com, and if you need it fast, you can get same-day delivery powered by DoorDash. Let your holiday fun begin with the Magellan Outdoors Christmas Art Market collection only at Academy. And all right,
Joe.
I think I see some stuff I'm going to buy pretty
Joe.
soon.
They got stuff for the dog. The pet. They got stuff for your dog. He was wearing pajamas. Rebel.
Yeah,
You think
that
you
on.
can wear some pajamas? Nothing. But
Rebel-
if you
Rebel
need
could
to,
do some-
go to Academy.
Rebel's got some short fur. He could probably use some pajamas.
The problem with Rebel is he's so like barrel chested and his neck is so thick. He's got to wear like adult clothes. Yes, that is you. Don't take it personal. But yeah,
Ian, this is another one from Williams David. I'll show it and I'll bring you back up. Sark has significantly misused Jack Indries. He's been targeted more on screens behind the line of scrimmage than on 8-yard digs or seams, which is ridiculous. Kind of curious what you're thinking of the way Indries has been used this year.
Well, Sark's got all these ways to involve the tight end that are things like that are really, really darn good when you've got your play action game going and he's in his bag and he's mixing formations. When the gears are stuck, when there's a monkey wrench in the gears, then that stuff is a lot less effective. So I don't know if it's like that he's misusing the whole team. I don't know. I think that's been kind of the issue. I think Indries would probably look pretty good on that stuff if they could do it as well as they did in previous seasons. But I do agree that it seems like Indries should be good in the seams and getting down the field on actual routes. But to do that, you have to commit more to spread sets where the tight end is even in position to get down the field and progression passing, which Sark has inched towards very begrudgingly over the course of the season. So I agree, but I think it's not really even just like misusing Indries. It's misusing the Texas Longhorns.
I've got this is PFF's receiving depth numbers for Indries. The top left one, so it's 20 yards downfield, 10 yards downfield, 0 to 9 behind the line of scrimmage. The top left one is the Ohio State catch, and that was the moment everybody was like, "Oh, okay, that's the guy. That's what Texas brought in." And then over the course of the non-conference games, it's like, "Oh, there's Arch's security blanket." And then, Evan, I'm going to look at his game log, but you just don't really see it. You see that one route where he's kind of sitting on the sidelines and then he makes an in cut, and that's kind of all he gets over the course of this season so far.
Yeah, I think the most striking thing is 4 total targets between 10 and 19, which is where you kind of hope one of those guys that I think someone else pointed out in the chat, like we were kind of thinking all SEC level type of tight end, like a truly really good player, a difference maker, an NFL draft pick in the first 3 rounds was the hope. And that's kind of space you want him to be eating in is right past the sticks. And the one catch is a touchdown right there, 1 for 4. And that's all he's gotten this year in that space. And yeah, it feels like a lot of times he's either just kind of thrown to the sideline, sitting there waiting for a scramble drill, or there's a few where, in Vanderbilt, he had one nice first down on that drive that I think it was the eventual Baxter touchdown where Manning was just operating really well down the field. He was left open on a blitz. Really nice play from Manning. But it's like, it's either he's wide open and thrown to because he's wide open, or there's not much else with him. And I do hope this is the kind of game where you get, even if it's just 5 for 50, right? Like, just get something positive from him, because we haven't really gotten that all year in these big games where he's truly been a difference maker. Like, Gunnar Helm had it against both Michigan and Oklahoma, where I was like, that guy made a true difference in the win or loss of that game. I guess Oklahoma was kind of a blowout, but we haven't really gotten that from Endries, and that's what I thought we would be getting from a tight end like him.
It is kind of interesting to see how, when you have Jatavian Sanders and Gunnar Helm, and you have Gunnar Helm, that's what you can make primary plays for those guys, or you can have them be primary checkdowns. But Justin, these receivers, I mean, again, they haven't been all conference level, but those are the guys you want the ball in their hands primarily over injuries, just because of what we've seen this year.
Yeah, you got to go with your best guys. And in the last couple of years, 12 personnel was part of the best packages Texas had to offer. That's not on the docket this year. That's not one of their best packages. That's the thing I love about these receivers. Someone said, well, who's Texas? I had somebody ask me this weekend, who's Texas' number one receiver? They don't have a wide receiver one. They've got 3 guys that are kind of wide receiver ones. And honestly, I think that actually makes them more lethal. I think that makes them more dangerous, because at any point, Wingo, Moore, Livingston, any of those guys and Mosley now can make plays, and you have to pay attention. You got to be cognizant of if 3 or 4 of these guys are on the field at one time. It's nothing against Jack Endries. Just play your best hands. It's no different than poker. Go. You got to play your best what you have. And I think right now, with the way the O-line is set up, and Endries is not a traditional tight end, guys. He's a flexed tight end with some athleticism and some grit, and that's kind of his MO. You don't have the same horses like you did with a Jatavian Sanders and a Gunnar Helm. And so these receivers, honestly, it kind of spreads it out, in my opinion. I think it actually makes the offense more effective, because now that Mosley's become a threat, there's 4 guys you've got to pay attention to on any given Saturday, because Arch is looking for these guys on a regular basis.
Is there a stat maybe among the wide receivers or from one wide receiver that if y'all hear and you're like, okay, this guy would get 6 catches for 80 yards, you would take just blind? Like if Ryan Wingo, the only information you have is 6 catches for 80 yards, I feel like you would take that, but what I'm trying to figure out is, like, do you take one big game from one guy maybe on one play, or do you want to see stuff spread out a little bit more?
You want to see stuff spread out. You want to see that spread out, because when you say Ryan Wingo, 6 catches, 80 yards, I think 1 catch, 75, 5 catches for 5 yards. 2 or 3 screens got busted or blown up and didn't work. But man, that one big play, that's the Wingo play. I mean, I see where you're going with it, Joe, but like, I'm trying to remember the last time a receiver had 6 catches. I do the grades every Sunday, and I look through the box score every Sunday, and like, usually it's really spread out. I mean, usually you might get 6 or 7 targets in a game, but I don't see it being any more effective than that.
I will say, Joe, like if you make that catch as 4, I would love that as a Parker Livingston stat line. Like if you had him get that like 55-yard catch down the sideline, then he's been good in the red zone. Like the deep ball in the red zone has been his bread and butter. So if that's 4, 80, and 1, I would love that. 6 with 80 probably means that you're throwing it a little too much to him, and the non-explosives aren't quite as efficient as you want them to be. But yeah, if that's what you're getting from a Livingston, or even more, because Moore's the one who I'm more fine with getting little bits and pieces of throws there. Like that's I'm good with. But yeah, you're hoping that you get. It's so hard with Wingo. It's like sometimes it's the 2 for 85, which happened last game because of the injury, or it's 3 for 15, and you don't know which one you really are going to get. And then sometimes it's Mississippi State where he's going for almost 200 or whatever the stat line was. So I think Wingo, it's such a coin toss every week which version of him you're going to get after the catch, and if he's going to drop any passes, which has come up a lot this year.
How many touchdown catches do I get in there?
Unknown.
Six.
Six for
All
80.
you want.
That's the thing. You don't know how many touchdown catches are in there.
Well, then I don't feel great about it.
There
But
could be some behind door number 2. There could be a touchdown catch, but
I-
you just don't know that.
I'm not
What
taking
about what about 6 touchdowns on 6 catches? Can we be that efficient?
I would take that.
We would be having I would call you right away and get you on a show if we were doing that. That'd be something nuts.
Justin Mosley had 7 last week, 7 catches. So there's your 6+.
There's your 6+.
Mosley is the most likely to have 6 catches for 80 yards on the team.
Him and Moore have had the majority of the targets in the last few weeks.
That will probably remain consistent this week.
Yes.
Ian, when you were looking at the Georgia defense, I know I've been on the whole test everybody but KJ Bolden thing. Is there somebody you're like, aside from the linebackers, is there somebody in the secondary you're kind of like, maybe there's as you put it, a bum to hunt there?
I think their corners are better than people think. They tend to tighten up. I feel like I'm the only person to notice that Everett was like put the clamps on Texas in the SEC championship game last year. The only other people that seemed to notice it were complaining that he was committing DPI, which is like just loser talk. If that's you, yes, I am calling you a loser. Quit whining about the officials. If you're ever the team that's complaining the other team was too physical, you're just being a loser. That should never be a complaint that anyone that's a winner ever says. Oh, they were too physical. The other safety is the guy that I would want to try to get. The linebackers first, and then the other safety. Like we had a dog in the chat that was noting
number 20, and I'll try to find that.
So they've got. Is he saying 20 is? So I think Kyron Jones is out.
Yeah.
And
I messed that part up. I forgot to mention him. He's been out the last 3 weeks, but he was a starting safety.
20 Ja'Cory Thomas is the guy that's like an easier target than Bolden or Aguero or Robinson or Harris or Everett. So it boils down to the same thing though. To get to those weaker defenders, you have to spread them out. Otherwise, they'll keep their best coverage guys on your best receivers.
I'm with it there. We'll get through a couple other questions. I got one on the Georgia. Actually, this will be a good way to transition to something I wrote on the Georgia offense. I know y'all have talked a lot about Gunnar Stockton. We'll get to that in a second. But before we do, a word from Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results. Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
One thing from Texas Homer, everyone should tune in at noon for the deep dive breaking down how to attack the Georgia defense. So Ian, you and Paul will go over that. Always great stuff. But I did want to get to one question, kind of lead us into a conversation about Texas defense versus the offense. And will Justice Terry play Saturday? Probably, but all he gets is about 5 snaps a game at this point. Like he's just a kind of a spot player. They want to steal a few snaps for him in the middle of
He'll have a few order in Georgia. He's going to play a little bit. Won't be that effective.
Yeah, they steal snaps for him. So guys like Hero Canoe and Murad Watson have more in the tank later in the game. So yeah, you'll probably see him. But at the same time, it's not like he's going to become a feature player all of a sudden. I've got another PFF chart to bring up. And it is of a certain player on Georgia's offense. And Ian, you'll have to fill in the blanks in a second. I think Zachariah Branch has given this Georgia offense an entirely different dynamic compared to years past. where you go from when Georgia was still the super team that in 2023, they were a super team that just missed a playoff. They win that SEC championship. They're going to the playoff again and going to the Final Four. Instead, Alabama gets in. That's a tight end team with Brock Bowers. Even the one last year, a little bit more of a tight end team with Brock Bowers. But, Ian, I think Zachariah Branch has given Georgia another level to their offense just because of some of the things they can do with him. And it's a level that somehow, and with good reason, Lincoln Riley was not able to find at USC.
I'm going to say something that could be clipped later and used to make me look really stupid in a few days.
Thank God.
This doesn't really worry me that much. Almost the entirety of his production comes from throws like right in front of the quarterback. I think Branch is a gadget player that feasts on teams that are worried about other things, and a sound defense that doesn't get thrown out of alignment will erase him. Like he's not a receiver.
He's an athlete.
He's just an athlete.
Yeah.
Or just an athlete. He's a very good one of those.
Yes.
But he doesn't have a lot of skill.
Yes.
So if you actually cover him and you deny him the ball, that's it. He's done. He's over. I think Texas can do that. I think they can keep him from getting easy space to get the ball in easy ways. If Georgia still gets him the ball in easy ways and get him into space and he torches Texas, then Texas will lose this game for sure. And everybody can call me an idiot. But I think this is like kind of feasting on teams that are out leveraged or poorly prepared. What's his game log look like? Has there been a decline in SEC play in his numbers?
So, Ian, here's what I was going to say to that is, there are three really big games. I guess you can add, Auburn, Florida as 5. So, Tennessee's got a terrible defense this year, and Ole Miss has their own defensive struggles, especially against like real offenses. Florida, he had a really good game, which Florida's defense played well against Texas. But his two of his worst games, 35 and 57 on 16 total targets. Auburn and Alabama, which are really the only two truly good defenses they played all year. And like in the Alabama game, when you're rewatching it, he's not much of a factor. I mean, 35 yards in a game that they had to win at home. It was mostly, like you said, on those kind of freebie bubble screens and just getting the ball right to him as quick as the ball is snapped. But he wasn't taking the top off the defense there. He wasn't some route running savant getting open on 3rd and 9s consistently. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if he's much of this like pure awesome route runner and go get you number one wide receiver, big guy catches. Like, I don't know, even like Ladd McConkey would do that for Georgia. But yeah, when he played Tennessee and when he played Ole Miss, he was running way deep past the defense that had a lot of problems with their coverage assignments. So there is the chance that that's like what it is against Texas. But you'd hope this Texas secondary, when they're fully healthy, is a little bit closer to what Alabama and Auburn did today.
He's basically a flex running back.
He is, and Woodcrest brings it up. All his work comes from screens and short routes, and you can see in that the bottom, middle third, bottom quarter, like that's where he's getting the ball most of the time. But like, it's still hard for me to overlook the fact that he's still their leading receiver. He is a flex running back, but I think he's a really good flex running back. And you make the point like, hey, as long as your defense is sound, you're in a good position with him. The thing is, his movement all over the field can get you off tilt and get you into these different positions. And I feel like Gunnar Stockton's been able to take advantage of that this year. Like, I think that him being eye candy is valid, but at the same time, like, he also brings a little bit more of a punch with that role than maybe someone like Ryan Niblett has been for Texas. They can get him involved and get attention on him, but without telegraphing all of their touches and targets to him, like it seems like happens when Niblett gets on the field.
He's dangerous, but I think the fact that he's far and away their leading receiver is pretty telling, and it tells you that they don't really have receivers on this team with Colby Young out. They have to formation and manufacture opportunities for their players to do anything. They don't have guys that can just go get open against a good coverage defender.
Texas has 3 of the top 4 receivers in this game, believe it or not.
I mean, that's not surprising.
Pure wideouts.
It's Georgia. This is a running back, tight end, power run game type offense. The fact they have Branch is a little different than what they've had in the past. They don't usually have that kind of twitchy athlete.
I just feel like it could be feast or famine for him. I get that, but like he's just been a player who feasts a little bit more.
You got to watch him. That's the thing with him. You get caught slipping, he's a big play. It can happen. They didn't really have that the last 2 years.
Looking at the guy slinging it around, we've talked a little bit about him. We'll keep talking about him. Bobby Petrarch. Who does Stockton profile to? Is he a white Pavia and Avery Johnson who gets football?
Mark Brunell
2.0.
He's a right-handed Mark Brunell.
Even that's a little. I just remember Brunell as a career backup in the NFL.
Well, I mean, he was a career starter for 10 years. There's that too.
I got the backup portion.
He took the Jacksonville Jaguars to the AFC Championship game, I think, in the very first year of their franchise or the second year of their franchise.
I think Dennis Stockton would be.
Brunell was a Washington stud for the Huskies.
Stockton's agent will be thrilled if he's in the NFL for 10 years.
He won't be in the NFL for 10 years.
He's a little bit Ellinger-ish.
Yeah.
I think that's a decent comp.
I do too.
He's pretty smart. Ellinger was pretty uniquely smart and tough. But as an athlete and as a thrower, he's similar to Ellinger.
He's a gamer. Listen, I respect that kid. Andrew Makuba disassembled his head, and he just put it right back on. And like it was nothing. Like most people die when you do that. Gunnar Stockton didn't. He just got stronger.
And most people lose the football too. And he didn't do that then.
I mean, it's just like, the only thing missing was a Pete Nakos article on why it wasn't targeting.
Oh, man. I think Stockton is a very odd – he's also a feast or famine player. Like, if he gets moving, sometimes it's a 50-yard bomb downfield, and sometimes it's like a 15-yard sack.
Yeah.
It's a very odd split with him. And it's just I think he's sometimes a player that believes in his own athleticism a little too much. And I mean, he's got great athleticism and he's one of their leading rushers. I'm not sure how sacks factor in on this, but he's got 77 carries and he's got 7 touchdown runs. So they use him in goal line situations. And we saw him, he should have 8 touchdowns, but he didn't score against who was it a couple games ago where he takes the knee, Florida. He's a smart player, but I think he also sometimes believes in his own athletic capabilities too much, and that gets the Georgia defense a little bit off kilter.
He also has a kind of a blind spot to the like super free rusher. Like Tennessee should have beat Georgia when they played them. There's one rep really late in the game where Josh Josephs comes screaming off the edge, and he acts like he had no idea the guy was coming around. Josephs gets a strip sack. Probably should have turned the tide to win it for the Volunteers at home, but I think there was one against Alabama where he had a rusher come in and just kind of wasn't aware of it and had a bad sack in there. And that's where Colin Simmons comes in. Like if Simmons can beat off these tackles really, really fast, like they're gonna get some pressures that Stockton's not gonna see, and hopefully that turns into the strip sacks and not just like the 4-yard losses that giving up the next play a first down.
I think the Georgia O-line is healthier because they had guys who were banged up for the first part of the year, but, good, not great. Good, not great is so relative for Georgia, but it's just when you think of those teams of that won titles, it's a step back, but that step back is still going from the top of Everest to the Hillary step, basically. Like you're not really you're still near the top of the world, as we see with these rankings. So I don't know, but Colin Simmons is up there too. So we'll see how that factors in. I'm excited to see what they do. Anything else before we go through the SEC slate? All right. I guess no objections there.
I want to see who the games. Let's talk about the games this week.
There are my title for this one is the Red River Rivals are kind of taking center stage this week in 2 big road matchups. We'll get to those, of course. But this is the order the SEC sends me every week, and I thank them
by
for
kickoff.
helping them. Yeah, it's by kickoff time. So South Carolina at A&M, 11 a.m. game in Kyle Field. I have no expectations.
I didn't realize South Carolina's offensive line is the worst in
They're
the SEC.
terrible.
Like, I thought Texas was going to, hang the banner with that one this year. South Carolina's like, nah, bro, hold my beer. Like, Lenora Sellers came in with all this hype, but they forgot to add any offensive linemen or any skill guys around him to incur that. So, hey, A&M is playing with way too much confidence right now. They don't make many mistakes. They're a 4-quarter team. They're very disciplined. And South Carolina, who had a really good defense, is got a kind of an average defense now. It's Dylan Stewart and the rest of those guys.
South Carolina has the most must-see TV quarterback with the most turn off the TV O-line I've ever seen. It's actually terrible watching Sellers fight for his life every play. That's why he's not going to the draft, because he doesn't have tape to show teams like, hey, I'm actually a good quarterback. Just these guys are in front of me.
One point about Sellers, and it's arch related, is you remember that group of quarterbacks in the SEC even this year, and some SEC adjacent. It was Sellers, it was Klubnik, it was Nussmeier, it was Austin Simmons, it was DJ Lagway, and it was Arch. Like, all talked about as this is the class. Well, only one of those guys is actually playing good football of late. It's
Marcel Reed.
And Reed entered his name into that, obviously. But, I mean, the preseason guys.
Yeah, Reed wasn't preseason.
Reed was flying a little bit more under the radar preseason, only because I think he was
so inconsistent last year.
Right, and he took over for Weigman. And so the familiarity wasn't there. They went 8-4 again. He has definitely moved himself into the, tier of phenomenal college football player. But of that Lagway, Sellers, Klubnik, Nussmeier, Manning group, only one guy's still standing.
You guys want a tip on how to identify the best quarterback of a coming year? It's the guy with the best receivers.
In a really good O-line.
It's just the guy with the best receivers every year is the guy. Everybody thinks Fernando Mendoza came down from Olympus. Indiana's 2 best receivers from last year are back, and they're really good. He's good.
Listen to Ohio State fans talk about Sayin. I mean, Sayin's a baller, but he's throwing to Megatron and Megatron's brother.
Right, yeah. Ty Simpson, I told everybody Ty Simpson will be good. He's throwing to Gods of War and Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, and sure enough, this happens every single year. Everybody gets caught up with last year's quarterbacks, and last year's quarterbacks lose their NFL receivers, and then it's a different crop that emerges.
How good are the receivers at Vanderbilt, Ian?
Eli Stowers is really good.
He's a good tight end, good receiving tight end.
Eli Stowers is
He doesn't have any wide receivers.
Their receivers are actually pretty good. Also, they run the ball, so it's not really.
They do. There's some open to interpretation to that.
Eric Crouch would also be not fit into my calculation here.
Heisman Trophy winner, yes.
Yeah.
Didn't he steal it from Heupel?
He stole it from somebody.
Steal is kind of.
No, it was theft. Grand theft.
Heupel threw 16 picks.
It was Rex Grossman.
Oh my gosh.
Rex Grossman had 2,300 more passing yards.
And then Ken Dorsey, and that feeds into your theory there, Ian, that Ken Dorsey was a Heisman finalist in the year 2001.
I was going to say, that was the best wide receiver core in college football that year, or for that decade.
Anybody see South Carolina covering?
I don't know, man. 20's a lot, especially on 11 a.m. game. Man,
I think the Aggies cover.
You're okay.
I think Craver is out. Is that right?
He's questionable.
They're not playing him.
Yeah, there's no need to. Arkansas at LSU.
It's a rock fight.
This could be. There's a reason this one's on SEC Network. I wonder how 102,000 people can supposedly fit into Tiger Stadium, and I wonder how many tens of thousands of seats are going to be empty at this one.
Well, I mean, it's an early kickoff, so there's a good chance it may not be completely filled. But let's not forget, like, nobody wakes up and tailgates like the LSU fans. Like, they're up at 5 a.m. drinking till 7 p.m. kickoff. Like, they're a different breed, man. This just looks like a rock fight. This used to be in the late 2000s. This was a good game. When it was Darren McFadden and Felix Jones for Arkansas and they would face LSU, this was a good game. This is not a good game in 2025. It's just not.
This is going to be – I can see Arkansas winning this one.
I can see them definitely making it interesting.
Because I think LSU's defense is better, but how hard are they playing? And – if
Dalen Green will make some plays.
If LSU's offense isn't doing anything, as it has not, and granted, Arkansas is a sieve. Like this could be a pretty interesting shootout leading up to the 2:30 games. So I would pick Arkansas here straight up, to be honest with you, and also hope that
very drunk and loud fans.
I think that may expend all their energy, and I think that'd be a good thing for Texas in the coming week. Surprisingly, no line on Tennessee Tech at Kentucky.
Dude, Tennessee Tech is looking to run. Look at them. They're looking to win the division.
Is it Bill Connolly who does the all college football rating system?
Yes.
I'll give you a second. I'll try to find the Tennessee Tech line.
I think it's on his Twitter account.
Was that the baseball school a few years ago, Joe? That was so good, and that I think they lost in a regional final to Texas, but they had a team average of like 320, and they were destroying college baseball for a season.
Texas beat them to go to Omaha in 2018.
Right.
They beat Ole Miss in a super regional, and they were hitting the ball. They just ran out of arms.
Yeah.
Finally had enough
the first
guys.
7 hitters all hit like 320. Yeah. And didn't that manager wind up getting a better job like the next season or 2 years later, something like that?
He went to Rice and failed miserably.
Oh man.
And then he went back to Tennessee Tech.
Okay. Yeah, that was a tough gig.
So Tennessee Tech is only 11, I think if I'm reading this right, 11 points behind Kentucky on those ratings. They're 104th and Kentucky is 53rd.
I think it's some sort of Eagles. So I'm gonna swipe the subscription there. It's either Golden Eagles or Purple Eagles or maybe Eagles.
There's purple in that team.
Yeah.
I got to tell you though, Tennessee Tech doesn't know what they're walking into. Asked Texas a few weeks ago, Kroger Field can be a little crazy.
This could be a 3-0 game
easily.
All right, here's the fun one.
Here we go.
Focus on the Red River Rivals. This is the game leading into Texas at Georgia, Oklahoma at Alabama. Bama by 6. Looks like Oklahoma's got – I mean, we'll see if R. Mason Thomas plays. He needs to play for Oklahoma to win, but Ian, I don't know if there's really much chance for the Sooners here.
What happened to RMT?
He messed up his ankle, I think, on that touchdown against Tennessee.
Yikes. If they don't have RMT, it should be minus 12.
Ian's back here. He's like, nice.
Kalen DeBoer is the perfect guy to take Venables' defense apart. And I don't see it for Oklahoma. Although their offensive line, they went with a youth movement, and all of a sudden they have like talented football players playing offensive line for the first time in like 3 years. So that's interesting. That does not bode well for next year.
Yeah, with Foji and Fasusi doing pretty darn well.
And Eddie Pierre-Louis too has been getting in there.
Wasn't that the A&M transfer?
I don't think so. I think he signed with Oklahoma out of high school, I'm pretty sure.
I could have sworn he was a transfer.
I think, like, statistically, if Texas wants to make the SEC championship, of course, winning out's important. But teams Texas beat beating teams Texas doesn't play, I think is actually in their best.
No, you want Alabama to win this one.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, because Oklahoma, they go beat Alabama. They're good enough to go 10-2, and they're getting in over Texas at 10-2 if Texas is 9-3. So you need to see a close game Alabama win.
Joe, that you never root for Oklahoma.
I didn't say I was. I just said statistically.
No, the statistics are fake. You never, ever want Oklahoma to win a game. They will always – I made this mistake once in life. We rooted for Oklahoma to beat Texas Tech in 2008, and it blew up in our faces, and I learned that lesson real good and hard. You never, ever want Oklahoma to win.
Fair. Yeah, and them getting a 7-3, I think, changes everything because that
Evan's
means
right. They would take a 10-2 Oklahoma over a 9-3 Texas.
Yeah, and they have good wins, obviously, but that
Alabama.
third loss, especially to the top team they play, and to Ole Miss, you got to beat the teams. New Mexico State at Tennessee. I would take Tennessee in the points. That offense doesn't stop if it has a chance.
Couldn't care less.
Yeah, there ain't much here.
Some SEC guys this week, huh?
Yeah, right.
Florida at Ole Miss. Ole Miss 14 in the hook.
This is a tricky one, guys.
That's too many.
Lane Kiffin does not want to beat down on the guys that he's going to take over for in a few months. So I think there's going to be some hesitation in this game. I'm calling an upset. I think Florida goes into Oxford.
The thing is,
Florida is just it could be they lose by 50 or they win by 3. Like there's just no in between with the guys that are going out there.
If Ole Miss loses, their only path to the playoffs should be through winning the SEC championship. Because their
wins are bad, man.
I don't think much of their schedule.
LSU's their best win, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, or Oklahoma.
OU.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Keeps losing. Okay, there we go. Keep losing, OU. All right.
Keep losing. See, Ian knows the antidote.
When Texas and Oklahoma both lose some of their upcoming games, then Ole Miss is 10-2 will start to look a lot better.
Yeah,
that's true.
I got Florida leading that one.
Their only losses to Georgia. They've survived a lot of other games. Let's see, 6 in Oxford. I would take Ole Miss. I think 14 in the hook, they can do it. Because what's this Florida team playing for now?
Pride.
Contracts.
They played for Pride.
I'm not kidding. This is real tape. These guys could throw this out to the next team they're looking at. But I'm with you, Joe. I think
honestly, if Dallas Wilson was still on the field, I would actually believe in an upset. But when he shut it down, there's just not a whole lot there.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
He had one game.
Are they even going to go with Lagway? Like Lagway got benched.
No, it's the other guy, like
Tramel Jones.
That's the freshman. That's Jamie French's high school quarterback.
Yep.
Where do we think DJ Lagway will go?
Baylor.
TCU.
Baylor, he's gone that far.
I mean, that's where his dad played. It depends on who they hire.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think he comes closer to home. I think he comes back closer to home.
Baylor is a fall from grace.
Yeah, money's
Sawyer
green.
Robertson probably played his way into to an NFL draft pick there.
Don't they like their backup at Baylor? Am I remembering that wrong?
Money's green everywhere. And Willis is a lot closer to Waco than Gainesville. We've talked a lot about this one. What do y'all think about this line? Georgia 6 in the hook.
I think it's fair.
Yeah. It was 7, I think, earlier this week.
I think that one's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Texas will probably cover that. I don't know. When we do a roundtable, we'll see what we're predicting. But I could see this being a 3-point Texas loss, and all the bettors are happy. But yeah, there's definitely the world where this is a close game, but Georgia kind of gets that 10-point lead in the fourth and just never gives it up. Suddenly it's Georgia beat Texas by 10, covered the spread, all that.
Evan is speaking it into existence, y'all.
Yeah, exactly, guys.
Because he's probably right. He's probably right.
Texas off a bye week, I think, is getting underplayed.
Listen to Boyd. Bring it, Boyd.
This has already been a circled game for Sark. I'm pretty certain. And he's figuring out this team a lot more, and he had a week to pivot more in the direction that's been working. They got healthier, and I don't think
touchdown too much.
I think Texas can win for sure. What happens when Georgia runs the ball, I think, is your game. If they can run it decently on Texas, then maybe they can get some of their other stuff going. If it's like Florida, if this looks like the Florida game where they're just like running it and Stockton can just hit a couple chain movers underneath, this is trouble. But if they cannot do that, then I don't think Georgia's going to be able to pull away from Texas, and they'll be in big trouble.
I think it's a one-possession game, win or lose.
They're always close in this league. Speaking,
I don't want to play Texas in a one-possession game. I don't want to deal with Arch or the random Niblet return or whatever. We've seen the pass rush.
Make it simple. Last but not least, Mississippi State at Missouri. I'm surprised to see this only be a 7-point game, but I know Missouri's got that quarterback.
They're dealing with their third string, which Zollers was actually a really good quarterback in high school. Like, I think that kid has a lot of potential. Why did they stop running the ball against Texas A&M? They had 200 yards rushing in the first half, and then they decided they're not a running team.
I think they got down too much, I guess.
It was close, I thought, until relatively until like the mid third or late third. But I don't understand. They can run the ball. Ahmad Hardy, they can run the football. That's what they're going to do against Mississippi State. I don't know why they stopped doing it against A&M. It was so effective early.
Yeah, I think they're just going to ground and pound on Mississippi State and just win, hit that score line, probably get to 15 or something like that.
The fact that there's a thing on this screen that is extremely interesting to me. This upcoming game is Georgia's last SEC game. They play, I think, Eastern Illinois, and then they play Georgia Tech to close the year.
No, there's Charlotte, Eastern Illinois, Alabama.
Okay. Cupcake and then ACC rival. Missouri's only played 5 conference games. And I know Georgia starts the year earlier in conference play.
Yeah.
They have that ACC rival, so they do 2 games and then start conference play and then have 2 on the back end. But I hope that is something that we see kind of taken away and we get everybody kind of on a regular schedule as the league moves to 9 games. So
yeah, Bobby Machonik asks, when do we finally get the SEC Cupcake prior to our rival game schedule? Probably never, because the 9-game schedule.
Sark didn't want it either.
We got a bye week before Georgia. Like, what else could you want?
That's what they needed. They didn't need a cupcake. They needed a week off.
And you can still play a cupcake even with 3 out of conference games. You just have to make sure that
Texas played their cupcake. It just happened to be in September, and it will always be in September.
Yeah.
That.
Just go ahead and play the 0-12 watch teams and maybe sprinkle in a Kansas every year or something like that. So
maybe not Kansas.
Wake Forest. I don't know. You know what I mean? Washington State. Like you can play. Yeah. Oh, don't even start that one again. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And of course, subscribe to Inside Texas. Go to that first link in our description. Scan that QR code. Sign up for $1. Get 1 month. That'll get you through this game, the other 2 games, National Signing Day, and everything else related to the Longhorns. We've been bringing it on Inside Texas all week, and we hope to see y'all over there. Got the deep dive later. Got the round table tomorrow. Got Inside the Program. I think we got another film study coming out later today. And we have a ton of content coming up. Ian's got something that'll be having. We'll have Sark press conference reaction. Got a whole lot. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Stay tuned to Inside Texas. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.